Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Frances Reaves, president of Parent Your Parents and author of The 2-Minute Warning. And I probably don't need to introduce the man who's sitting next to me, but I can't help but just remind you that he's a 5-time champion and an elder. His name is Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson.
Good morning, Francis.
Thank you so much for coming. Emerson got here about an hour ago, and we're finally sitting down to the interview. I should have just brought him in as a secret guest. Emerson and I actually met 4 years ago, 2018.
Yes.
Yeah, 2018. And but I knew him in 1993 when he won the Indianapolis 500 for the second time at the age of 46, the oldest ever to win. You were the youngest in Formula One and the oldest in Indy. And so, yeah, that's a nice life. But you've never stopped working, have you, Emerson?
No, I always thank God every day of my life that a man has to have always a challenge ahead. You cannot stop. I say a man is like a bicycle of 2 wheels. If you stop pedaling, you crash. Even if pedaling slower, but keep going. You should never stop. And that's my philosophy of life. As more as you are older, you still have to continue pedaling.
Just with more wisdom, right?
Well, wisdom, slower, but keep going.
But keep
Don't
going.
stop.
And a little bit more experience so you
Yes.
know how slow or fast you can go, right? Now, I'm just going to start everything off. I was looking at YouTube has a great video of Emerson done in February of 2022. I think it's your 10 top moments. And I was reviewing it today, and you started as a backup driver, right? The number 3 for the Chapman Lotus team.
Yes.
Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And your number 1 driver was a man named Jochen Rindt.
Yeah.
Or
Jochen Rindt
Jochen.
in German. Yes.
In German, Jochen
Yes.
Rindt. And as much as I hate to say this, your movement forward was his unfortunate death
Yes.
in the Italian F1, right? The Italian
Yes.
Open.
In Monza.
So in Monza, okay.
Monza.
And as I watched this video, it looked to me like you were moved up to number 1 in a very sort of short amount of time, and you won that race, but it was credited to Jochen Rindt. Is that what happened, or did I see that wrong?
Well, Monza, the Italian Grand Prix, was a tragedy when we lost Jochen Rindt. And the second driver, John Miles, retired from racing. After At that time, France's motor race was so dangerous.
Right.
And then we come to the U.S. Grand Prix, New York, Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, sure.
And from the tragedy weekend, I won the race. And it was the first time ever in history of Formula One that post-mortem champion, Jochen Rindt.
Oh, so even though you won it for Jochen.
Because I finished ahead of the Ferrari of Jackie Hicks that could beat the championship because Jochen was not there anymore. But I took the points that he needs. And then my teammate, Jochen, who was a fantastic guy to me, because one of my heroes, was one of my idols. And then he won the championship post-mortem.
Oh, so that was just a generous spirit, or what the team would have done no matter who the number 1 driver?
I think we are working very hard to win the race and happen. We're very lucky everything happened on our side. And I won the Grand Prix was coming. That's why sports, sometimes you come from a very difficult weekend. But I always say, next weekend we can have a much better, and we
Mhm.
won the race.
And you won the race. And so even though when you walked into the studio, for instance, everyone's like, oh, Emerson Fittipaldi. No one said Francis Reeves. Did you notice? It's just Emerson. Hello. but never, honestly. but nevertheless, you are a cog in a team. In other words, you can't do what you do without the people behind you.
Yes.
So you're the face of the team with the owner, I'm assuming.
Yes. And I think Formula One, IndyCar race, motor race is a very complex sport
Mm-hmm.
because you need, a very sophisticated equipment, a race car
Mm-hmm.
that has been designed, has been tested, has been proved and developed. Then you go racing. There's so much work with the team
Before.
behind
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, from drawing a new car.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why motor race is so sophisticated, why motor race is a complex sport, very complex sport. But to me, it's a fantastic sport. I love since I was 5 years old. And that's one of the reasons I come to Miami, because Ralph Sanchez, who did the first Miami Grand Prix,
Right.
called me in my office in Sao Paulo and said, you must come to Miami, you must raise the spirit of Miami. And here we are. and then
here
I meet Francis, Mary.
My co-chair, Mary Tagg, and I are the co-chairs for Key Biscayne Car Week. And Emerson is our chair. And he is not an honorary chair. Emerson is on the phone. He's the one who gets the cars. When we did our first one in 2019, he just called up Roger Penske and said, oh, I need my Indy car. And there it was. And something I learned through Key Biscayne Car Week and my friendship with Emerson is that this is sort of a siloed sport. You have F1, which to me looks like an Indy car, but until you see the two together, and Emerson points out the difference, you think they're the same cars, but they're not. The racetrack is different and the cars are different, which is why what you did, Emerson, is so amazing. You were at 25 in 1972, you won your first F1 in the Chapman Lotus.
Yes.
Then it looked to me like you moved to McLaren for your second. And McLaren had never won an F1.
It was the first time.
Well, it was the first time. And then you won the Brazilian Grand Prix, and you were Brazilian. And your father, as I recall, Emerson, your father called that 1972 race.
Yes.
What was that like? Just watching that moment on TV after the race and hearing your dad's voice. I get goosebumps myself.
It's still so emotional to hear that, because my father normally used to be very neutral, because myself and my brother were racing Formula One. But when I was leading and going to win the World Championship, he lost control. and to us in Brazil was huge to be world champion. Was first time. We had great champions in Brazil like Nelson Piquet, Ayrton Senna, but there was the beginning, and it was very emotional. My father was there, my mother was there in Italy. It was very special moments. Thanks God every day that we had these special moments in life.
Yeah, and your mother was Russian.
Yes.
And your middle name, I think, looks Russian.
Wojciechowski.
Yeah, that's how you say it. I was looking at it today. I'm like, no wonder he never uses the W. And I think what was amazing about you, Emerson, is in 1980, when you retired, you were still working with your brother on the Brazilian F1s, yes. Right? And then Ralph Sanchez called in 1984, and he finally convinced you to come up to the Miami Grand Prix. Yeah. And you drove the Spirit of Miami, yes. Which didn't make it through the race, but you started a whole nother career.
Yes.
first you fell in love with Miami.
Yeah.
Then was it Roger Penske who called?
No, was a local team called Pepe Romero. Jim Bell was the team manager.
Okay.
And then I went first time to Indianapolis in May 1984 with, I would say, a small team, but
Mhm.
good people behind for me to try Indianapolis, and I love it.
Uh-huh.
Because Chapman won Indianapolis in 1965. I was a teenager in Brazil,
Uh-huh.
and he won with Jim Clark, was one of my heroes from Scotland.
Uh-huh.
And then I had the dream one day I want to drive Indianapolis, and it happened. And then I say, well, I'm going to do possibly Indianapolis, another race. And then I did 13 seasons in IndyCar race, full seasons,
With
because I love it. I love it.
with 2 wins.
Yes.
And I was at the 1993 win. I had gone with Cummins Engine Company. My husband had a distributorship, and we had all put $20 or $40 into a pot, and everybody picked out a race car driver's name. And mine was Emerson Fittipaldi, and it was, of course, the first time I'd ever heard of Emerson Fittipaldi, but nevertheless, he won. So I made like $250, and Emerson still wants his cut.
I'm waiting.
I know.
Remember, the interest is going up.
And sort of the unknown story about you is your kart championship. Now, the kart circuit isn't around anymore, correct?
Well, they at that time they split for Indianapolis, was like a different championship, but now it's all together.
Oh, okay.
And Roger Penske bought the Speedway and bought the championship. Now it's
all one.
united. Only
Okay.
one championship.
Now, I just want you. When I was watching the YouTube video, they were talking about how you could take off, things could happen around you, but you were always, and this is the word that British woman used, I loved it, calm and measured. 2 adjectives no one ever uses for me. So, but I mean, how does that work? Because you are going around 200 miles an hour.
I think any athlete, any sport, when you go to the competition, you have to have your mental mindset. And the mental mindset that I used to have was 1 hour before the race, I would sleep for half an hour to relax and try to be 100% focused to perform at the maximum peak of performance. And I think each human being, each athlete has his own way. And that was always my way. Try to be very relaxed, get my heartbeat down. And then when I was ready for the race, the butterfly would come on the stomach,
Yeah.
like any sport, and then take off and go. And that was mental, physical preparation that I had.
I want you to tell our viewers, this is my favorite, because I actually, growing up, I never dated race car drivers, but I dated a lot
You
of.
miss a lot.
I'm confident I did. I should have just gone down to the field in 1993 and thanked you for my $250. Who knows? And AJ Foyt's son went to Texas Christian University,
Really?
which was my university.
Cool.
I mean, there were opportunities. Oh my gosh. But I always, most of the guys I dated were always superstitious. And one of the people I knew, Cal Ripken, when he was getting ready, I didn't date Cal Ripken. He was married. Let me make that clear. But he was one of the Orioles, and he was getting ready for his record-breaking, I forget how many games in a row. And the day he was batting practice, the outfielder the day before had put the balls on, and he insisted that the same outfielder put the same balls on for his batting practice. He's very superstitious in that way. Now, did you have any superstitions And the story I want you to tell is the black cat story.
Yes. Every racing driver is very superstitious
Mhm.
because the risk we have, and then if you win a Grand Prix, you want to have the same gloves, the same shoes, same uniform, same underpants.
Same underpants. Do
But
you
you have
wash
to
them in
wash.
between?
And then one of my idols was a great world champion called Juan Manuel Fangio from Argentina.
Fangio?
Fangio.
Okay.
And he was 5 times world champion, was a fantastic man. And when he used to come to Geneva, I was living in Switzerland, he called me for dinner, and then I would listen all his stories.
Mhm.
He was a little older than my father. And then for me, it was an honor to be having dinner with Fangio and to listen.
Yeah.
And he looked to me and said, Emerson, are you superstitious? I said, yes, I am. And then he said, well, I'm going to finish a superstition now with my story. He was at the Swiss Grand Prix driving Mercedes,
Mhm.
downtown race on the streets
Ooh,
of
Stockholm?
uh, Basel.
Oh, Basel. Okay.
And then the night before the race, after qualifying, he and his wife on a sports car Mercedes
Mhm.
drive on the main straight where he was going to race next morning. Comes a black cat, cross the road, and he kills the black cat where he's going to race next morning
Oh.
at the Swiss Grand Prix.
Oh, no.
And then being Latin, being Christian, Catholic,
Uh-huh.
that was the worst thing can happen. You not just the black cat crossed your road, but you killed the black cat on the racetrack. And he told me I couldn't sleep the whole night. When he wakes up, open the curtain, it's raining. And then he's thinking, today, Fangio is going to die. I cannot survive. And then he comes to the paddock. He was very tension.
Uh-huh.
Everybody say, Fangio, good morning. He was, very tight, thinking what happened. And was raining. He qualified, I think, 4th or 5th. Start the race. His focus, adrenaline. And then he forgot about the black cat, and he won the race. He won the Grand Prix. And then after that, I lost my superstition. I told Fangio, if I see a black cat, I'm going to kill him. But this is real story,
Yeah.
and took away my superstition.
It did. So
Forever.
it took away your superstition.
Forever. Because this is the worst can happen to athletes.
Yeah.
It happened to Fangio. Took away my superstition.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And you weren't on the cover of Sports Illustrated. There's that whole superstition about being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, that if you're on it, then there's
I was.
Yeah.
I was, yes.
You were on the cover?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
no. And that didn't matter either.
You see, got the superstition.
So by your last championship, you had a new pair of underwear on.
I change all the time.
And another favorite story of mine that we've told is the one about you going, the 1993 Indy 500 that you won after going into the wrong pit.
Yes. I had my visor with a lot of oil, and then there was a yellow flag. Pace car goes out, and then the crew say into refuel and change tires.
They're in your ear
on the radio. They say in, and I was able to come in, perfect timing. And I stop. I see all my crew, Marlboro, Philip Morris, everybody's dressed in red.
Red and white.
I stop, and they didn't change. They didn't put the fuel. And then I see a mechanic giving a really bad sign to me, like, "What are you doing here?" Really upset. And my chief crew say, "Hey, Emerson, come here." I say, "I'm here." He said, "No, you are not here." Then I look, and I was on the wrong team. I was on the Budweiser crew.
And I don't think that on TV we can depict the sort of hand signals they were giving you.
And not nice. They're not very nice.
They weren't very nice.
Because Bob Rahal was coming. with the Budweiser car for refueling, changing, and I was at his pace.
So he
That's
was
why
coming
they
in
wanted me to
too.
get out fast.
Get out of there.
Out of here.
That is hilarious. And I
But
remember.
even we are racing drivers, we go to incredible speed, we all do mistakes,
Yeah.
like a human being. Like any human being, under pressure, under circumstance, you do mistakes, and they happen, and happen, and it happen to
And then you
everybody.
win.
And then I was lucky, and I won the race.
And I got
Thanks
$250.
You see,
Well, and in the little time we have left, I just want to first, I want to acknowledge that you took a spiritual journey during your career.
yes,
You were raised Roman Catholic, I'm
yes,
assuming, and accepted Jesus Christ in another form.
yes.
Why don't you tell us just a little of that story?
Well, this is my best Grand Prix win, my best win of my life, because I had a huge crash in Michigan Speedway,
Mm-hmm.
driving for Roger and Hogan team. And I was at Key Biscayne, very injured, trying to recover. And a friend of mine comes from Brazil. He was like the president athletes of Christ in Brazil. He raced Formula One. He was a Formula One driver, very good friend. But he comes with the Bible. When I look at the Bible, his name is Alex. I say, Alex, you think I'm going to go? This is my bye-bye. He say, no, I introduce you Jesus and a new life for you. And then from that point on, I changed my life and accept Christ. I was baptized in Key Biscayne a year later.
Wow.
And then everything in my life changed. And that's why I say it's the best
Yeah.
win.
You met your now wife.
I met Rosanna 21 years ago,
Right.
in August.
Right.
And she was already Christian
Mhm.
from the Baptist church. We go to the Presbyterian Crossbridge Church in Key Biscayne.
Right.
And it's, our kids now growing up with the love and the blessing from God in Jesus. And that's a new life to everybody,
Yeah.
to anyone who wants to accept Jesus as our Lord.
Well, I can't disagree with that. And as long as we're talking about Rosanna, who is also a wonderful, patient woman and beautiful and smart, you have two children
Yes.
with her, Emerson Jr., Emo, and Victoria.
Yes.
You're a gymnast and you're a race car driver.
Yes.
And you have 7 children. Altogether. And then 2 of your grandchildren, Enzo and Pietro, are also in the race car circuit.
Right. Very good.
And your uncle your nephew Christian.
Christian too.
Now Christian does those long distance races,
He
right?
retired now, but he did, yes. USAC, he was champion, American champion, with driving with the French family from Daytona.
Oh, okay, yeah.
On prototype.
Oh,
Very nice category. Yes.
right. And I met him at Key Biscayne Car Week at the gala.
Yes.
And now Pietro is still in the Formula 2 circuit.
Pietro's Formula One reserve driver
Formula
for the
1
Haas team.
for the Haas team.
Formula One team is the only American team.
Okay.
On the World Championship.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. And then Enzo is the Formula 2.
Enzo's drive Formula 2 for Tony Charus, a team from Czech Republic.
Oh.
He's doing very well this year, yes.
Oh, that's so great.
Yes.
And then we have the son,
Yes.
Emo,
Jr.,
who is Formula 4 at the age of 14.
He started 14, now he's 15.
He's 15.
Doing the Italian Grand Prix, Italian Championship. And that's our life and the family. Emo loves racing. He's my only son who wants to race. My other 2 boys, Jason and Luca, never want to race. And now Rosanna, myself, I used to be a racing driver. Now I'm a chauffeur in Europe because you don't have a driving license, but I have to take you racing.
I love that. Emerson, 5-time champion, now chauffeuring. Oh my gosh. Well, Emerson, first, I can't tell you what a privilege and honor it is to be your co-chair for Key Biscayne Car Week, and the fact that I've had the chance to get to know you and your family. And I can't thank you enough for coming to see us today. Thank you
No,
again.
Thank you, and thanks to being co-chair, you and Mary, of
Yeah,
this
Mary's great.
beautiful event in Key Biscayne that we're going to have again this year,
September 30th.
September 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, October 2nd and 3rd.
October 2nd and 3rd.
September 30th, October 2nd and 3rd.
3rd.
Vintage cars
It'll be
and fast
beautiful.
cars.
Yes.
And race car driver champions.
We invite you guys to be there. It'll be a great event. Thanks very much, friends, to be here. God bless. God bless everybody home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Emerson.